Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sparky Coach Potty Beers and Basics. One Dana beers, fresh, local from sort of outskirts of Mullum.
Nice.
Very exciting. Get down there if you're in the area, in the Northern Rivers area.
Beautiful part of the world.
Beautiful part of the world. Would you say God's country?
God's region.
God's country.
God's country
a
region.
bit more around Robina, where
No,
yeah,
it's not Rabina. It's just
a bit more
the
around
beach.
that roadworks.
The beach. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just because you're Lancers can't handle the roadworks, Crowie,
Yeah.
don't take it out on the Gold Coast.
God country is just where there's traffic and high rises.
I think they're both beautiful. Both beautiful parts of the world.
It's about seeing the gold in the grey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The diamond in the rough.
Pressure makes diamonds.
That's it, 100%.
And as Rihanna says, shine bright like a diamond.
She does. Loves the music, sort of reflection, don't you?
Now, talking about music reflection, you're talking about reflection. I mean, we're talking today around van talk.
Yeah.
So,
Van talk.
getting in the van. When you say van talk, what van are you picturing?
I'm picturing, I can't help but go past like a classic Mitsubishi Express from the mid-90s or an Econovan.
Oh, Connor van.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But I think it's an age-old art that unfortunately has probably died off a little bit over the last few years. And what we mean is the time spent in the van, vehicle, ute, whatever you want to call it, because we all know that people have different vehicles they travel around in, but spending the time in the car with yourself, or the tradie, or the apprentice, or the other work colleague, and just having a good old chin wag.
Bit of a yarn, bit of a chinny.
Yeah.
A chinny wag wag. Yeah, super. I mean, I flashback when I picture a van, I picture sort of, what did I start my apprenticeship in? 2002. So I picture like a high ace from around that.
Yeah.
Sitting with Ian, who absolute legend, loved fishing. And I really, and you know, my experience of being an apprentice was travelled between tradies. So Ian was sort of my main guy. Still love Ian, still talk to him.
Mhm.
I think he's retiring this year actually. So top him and stay with the same company.
Sparky or Friggy?
Both.
Both dual trades.
Yeah, dual tradie.
Because I know you work for a refrigeration company slash.
Yeah.
That was their core.
That was their, yeah, still is their
Still
core.
is their
So that
core.
was actually amazing blessing for
Yeah.
me when we started the business. So when I started the business, my old boss only did aircon and had no interest in sub mains or switchboards. So it was an ideal chip in.
Yeah.
And I was not his competitor. It was actually, looking back, it was just unbelievable. So he was able to chip us into people, and there was not like we were in competition
No,
with each other.
you were
We
supporting each other actually. Because he's like, hey, I need you to do this mech board for me so I can power up
Yeah.
one gigantic chiller.
And here's the thing about relationships. I know for me, we're talking about van talk, but we're really talking about communication between staff members. And I remember, like, I could still call my old boss for anything at any time, and he would answer, and we'd have a great talk. And loves to talk, and I learned so much from him and from Ian. But specifically those like first couple of years when you're as an apprentice in the van, hopefully not falling asleep.
No.
I had my date slice in the car, and Mum would pack two, so I could give one to Ian as
Yeah.
well. When I say Mum would pack, pretty exposing as a 19-year-old
Yeah.
having your mum packing your lunch. But hey, you know,
Mum loves you.
it
then she-
was the
after-
Jenny Crow philosophy.
After lunch was made and you waltzed off to work, she made your bed and folded your pajamas and left them on the end of the bed for you.
Yeah, that she did everything for me actually. I still haven't put
Shout
on
out
watching
Jenny.
on. No, I have. Shout out Jenny Crow and everything you do. I'm sure she listens to this podcast.
Mate, I think she was our number one fan.
But I'm a big believer of when you put an apprentice on, and I think an apprentice is such a critical part of your business. If you can't complain about the trade shortage and not do nothing about it. I said that the other week. Like, I think it's shame on you. You got trained up.
You had an opportunity.
You had an opportunity. Hand that opportunity to someone else. And yes, it's about making money. Business has got to be financially viable, but you've also got to be conscious of what you're outputting. And in a market where you can't necessarily, or you're not saying you can't, but it's very difficult to hire a tradie, why not put someone through the ringer? And so when they become a tradie, they know your ways, your processes, your communication, your van talk, your clients, you know, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, my first few years in the van were fantastic. And I remember we'd talk on the way to work, and sometimes I'd fall asleep, to be honest, because it's some early starts as a tradie I wasn't used to as a Domino's pizza delivery person, which is my previous
career.
I went to uni, studied pizza delivery.
Wow.
Yeah, remember the old street directories?
Yeah. The
Psycho.
UBDs.
Yeah, like imagine looking that up and it says head to map 246 and then it's head
Grid
to map
reference.
back 180 and it's just, where am I?
And you go into a new estate that doesn't exist. It's just green still
Yeah.
because the streets haven't been built. But anyway.
But I had some fantastic times. I learnt so much in that van. Sitting in the van with the tradie, whether it was Ian or whoever else is in the company at that time, talking about what job we going to next. I'm sure it was a bit annoying at the same time. Like, where are we going? Like, what did we just do? What happened? Because you're trying to get your head around everything. And I remember him drawing circuit diagrams for me for about 6 months, and I'm like,
Switch.
yeah, no English. Sí, sí, no comprende. Admittedly, he must have been doing something wrong because when I did that for my apprentices, they're like, I get it. So I blame him for my lack of understanding early on.
You know, that's 101, taking responsibility, isn't it? Right there, just deflecting.
Well, why put something on yourself when you can hand blame to other people?
That's it.
100%. But I know you're passionate about this. So
yeah, I love it. It probably takes me back. So I was pretty fortunate. Andy, who was my tradie at the time, shout out to Andy, still in the industry, has a super successful business in Brizzy. So I did my apprenticeship in Brisbane. I was really good mates with Andy's younger brother, so that's how I got the gig. And mate, we just got on really well. Like, so we would pretty much work together nearly every single day. Windows down, WD was the philosophy, driving through CBD city, checking out all the office ladies, all that sort of stuff. Probably frowned upon now, some of that stuff, but hey, that was the time. And we just had a really good time. And I remember Andy loved his sound systems. So we had this just tricked out Mazda van that just like used to blast, and he had like the cradle for the handheld, for the wireless phone connection, all this stuff, way ahead of its time. And we just had so tinted the windows were that you could, like, you'd be like standing like this at them and you couldn't see through them. It was so cool. But anyway,
all I can picture is you can do it, put your back into it, and Cam's just out the window, with 8 Mile hands,
100%.
the 8 Mile arm.
We had a lot of fun, but
I didn't picture you as the tinted window.
So love tinted windows.
Really?
Tinted windows.
See, I just rocked a Kia Carnival natural tint.
Natural, no tint.
Yeah. Actually, in the Cruiser, you have to have the window down a little bit because the seals are broken. If it's not, the window's not open a little bit, it
whistles. So annoying.
Can't even hear anything.
So
you might as well be on the moon.
It is, I've been in it, and it is frustrating.
Yeah.
Hence why I drive in most places now.
It's good for the short drives.
It is fantastic for around town in your country town with no Chinese restaurant. But I digress. So I look back on it really fondly. I think.
Sorry, I can't move on. What song? Is there a song that defines that? Is it like Nelly Hot?
No. So not a song that defines it. It's more
a feeling.
Radio. So radio. So for the young people out there, you had no choice but to listen to the radio.
And what
radio
station?
The show that I can't remember. I think it was on Triple M. But the show that resonates with me so much was The Shebang with Marty Sheargold and Fifi Box.
You're such a Triple M guy.
It was.
I fully get it now.
It was
the holistic picture of Cam.
that was it, like that, and that really sort of defines my apprenticeship because we used to do pretty big hours, so like we always catch that in the drive home. But I look back on it as a really, I guess, pivotal sort of to your sort of training, I guess, as a whole, because we spent a lot of time together in there, so we had the opportunity going to the job, so we talk about it, what's going on, what we've got to do, what material we do, what we need, write out lists, write in part numbers, write in code, what's a 154, that's a C clip, what's a C clip, it goes on the power, what's a power, it just goes on, the questions continue. Funny story, I remember my first ever PowerPoint I fitted off, just 4 screws in the corners. No, right way up.
4 screws in gyprock?
Yep, 4 screws in gyprock. Yeah, and then it just tested and pulled straight off. But I didn't know but anyway, don't do that, kids, use a C-clip. But, really good. So we got to have really good conversations all the time. and it really expanded my knowledge of the industry because we'd go to the job and I'd have to know what's going on there and we'd know what material order. Then when we'd finish the job, you recap on it. So remember how we did that. Remember why we did this. Remember what this is for. So you're reinforcing what you've already learned. And I'm no like psychologist or anything like that, but apparently,
Sure.
apparently the research says that like if you reinforce what you've learned by another way, so like this could be doing in visual, and if you reinforce it by talking about it, or two ways. I don't know the technical terms. I'm clearly not an academic, but it's good for you. It's the way that you can retain information. And just we got to know the clients, got to know where to go. It was really good. Had good banter. Share stories on the weekend. And I think it's really, really underrated. Time spent in the van and being a sponge as the other person and getting to know them and learning about the other person, because you don't know what that person's experienced, particularly if they're an experienced tradesman. Like they could have worked overseas in other places and had completely different electrical experiences. They could have worked in mines. They could have worked in an area of town for a long period of time, so they know all the buildings. They could have worked for the company their whole life, so they know everything about the company. So they know processes, procedures, how to do this, who we ring, what we do. So I think it's really, really underrated, and I think I've definitely noticed a shift over the last probably decade or so where the van talk probably coincides with mobile phones.
I was just about to say the mobile phone phenomenon. I mean, Snake One was all we had. Now you've got. Oh, can you still play Snake One? Is there an app for it?
I think
Probably.
So.
Yeah.
There's an app
You
for
can?
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it probably coincides with mobile phone as well. And but I'm a big believer. I have smoko as a team. So there's always that one strange apprentice with like a fringe listening to Fall Out Boy or something. Like, it's a little bit more emotional than other kids. Like, just try and get everyone together, put your phones down, have some quality time together. I'm a big believer in, van talk, but use your opportunities well with your staff members and encourage your staff members to eat together. There's nothing like breaking bread together. Encourage your staff members to put their phones down at lunchtime. I get they've got to get back to people, partners, parents, or whatever in between, but
Play Snake.
Play Snake, but just heading the phone kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just
there's a disconnect between the human connection.
Communication,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go as far to say is like your people skills are so important to your future career. So if we can nurture and develop and help the next generation, so to speak, into developing proper people skills with communication, that's what we need to be
Super important at the time. And it doesn't have to be work related. So I'm probably a really big believer in having the smoko together and all those sorts of things at lunch. But don't talk about the work. Just talk about each other. Talk what you do, what have you been doing on the weekend, how's your partner, how's your boyfriend, how's your girlfriend, how's your husband, how's your wife, how's your kids, all that. Because you get to have an understanding and you learn about the person, so that invariably when things go bad or something negative happens in their life, you can have a bit of an understanding and a relationship with them to be like, they break up. Everyone has apprentices who break up with their girlfriends or their boyfriends.
Woe is me.
It's just a roller coaster. But if you have no connection with them or don't really communicate with them, you don't really know how to react to it. You didn't even know they had a girlfriend to start with or a boyfriend. So I'm really big on that, and it helps build the team. And then you can respond to them in the way that your company wants to respond.
Yeah, so a couple of practical things you can go about doing here in encouraging conversation is bringing up at your staff meetings in terms of, hey, we'd like everyone to talk, so put your phone down at lunch. Make sure, I was a big believer, if the builder or client breaks twice, we break twice. If they break once, we break once. Try and slot into the culture of the building site. Chat about things in the car. If your apprentice is driving separately all the time, can we drive together? A bit weird when you've got a manual and someone's in the middle seat and you're changing gears into the upper thigh. Probably a little bit frowned upon in today's culture. And if you're that way inclined, you definitely want to remove yourself from that situation real quick. So be careful in the middle seat, you might say. But yeah, encourage that conversation and help people. I remember as a first year apprentice going to the Christmas party, having a couple of beers and then a couple more beers, and the tradie said, "This is the first time I've ever seen you look in someone's eye." And I'm like, I had no idea. I just didn't know how to talk to people, and and sort of he helped me immensely, not just on site but off site too, to become a better human. You spend so much time with these people, so let's try and enjoy it and get to know everyone. And
No, that's
happy chatting, I guess.
Yeah, have a chat, get to know each other, I suppose. So thanks for listening in, guys, and get around a bit of van talk, a bit of smoko chat, and get to know each other a little bit more.
Nice one.